morning, and viewers. Gosh, that felt as if it had gone on for a long time, didn't it?
Yeah, I think the advertising revenue at Spice FM. Hey, we need to ask demand some. Why did
Pay rise,
we need to
pay
demand pay
rise,
rise and maybe a lavish
maybe just some
party or
pay
something?
would help, wouldn't it? How much do you think? Just thinking out loud, how much do you think the value of our contribution would be monetarily? If you were to say we've spent X amount of hours on Spice FM for years and years and years. And yeah, it's
Well,
like
I
a
think
bit
I might if
funny
you
calculation.
take your hourly charges.
Yeah.
Is it grand an hour or something you charge out? I'll just
Yeah,
base it on
that's mates rates.
that.
Don't be mentioning them rates to anybody else. Anyway, good morning, listeners and viewers. You're listening to Ammar
Jaff.
live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice FM.
Each week we'll try and bring some views, news, and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, not just corner shops, whether you're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you want to talk business, we can help.
We can't help. We can't help. Gosh, here we are, 16th of January. The year's like marching on. This is arguably one of the most significant dates in the calendar. It is massive. 16th of January, iconic globally. The world changed dramatically so long ago. And here we are celebrating it, aren't we?
Amazing.
Yeah. Um, so let's kick off. What's happening, Jalf?
Wow, I'm on Newcastle. Obviously, we're in the midst of restaurant week in the city centre, and it's been chaos. Is interestingly, Ammar, restaurant week this year is a week earlier than normal because of Champions League and stuff next week. So I think there's
Right.
activity in the city, so they wanted to maximize a week where maybe there wasn't as much activity. And to our surprise, we didn't think it was going to be kind of as crazy as it has been over the years, but it has. It's been manic. It's a
Really?
good thing, yeah. I think people are. I don't know. People seem to be. We'll see next when things go back to normal. But people seem to be out and spending money and having a good time for now.
Which is brilliant,
Mm.
given the fact that it's like 16th of January. Um, it is interesting to see how many people are out and about, isn't it? As in, like, you would have expected there to be a bit of hesitancy, a bit of, conserving cash and whatever else. That isn't necessarily the
Well,
case, is it?
I think it's hard to gauge in the city centre, obviously, because the restaurant week has massive pull power these days. It started off in 2011 with only 13 operators, and I was
Well,
involved as one of them. And 15 years later, there's about 125 plus restaurants involved in Restaurant Week, and probably every single one of them is busy. So it does bring in a huge number of people into the city. And I think it's very value led, obviously. So when there's a value out there, it just shows that there's a reaction from the public. I think ordinarily, if there wasn't Restaurant Week, I think we would be just in that kind of January downturn that there always is, the January slump. So I think maybe tactically the way that they've done it this week, next week, ordinarily you're into the third week and maybe it might return to a bit more normality and not city centre may not be as quiet as what it ordinarily would be neither. Obviously Champions League is massive because the influx of all of the media from around the world. You're going to have the UEFA officials coming into the city, whether it be referees or whether it be, they have their own advertising people. And obviously you got like players, coaches, friends, family, and supporters, of course. So I think it's going to be lively few days next week also.
Yeah, I agree. It's Yeah, it was a real shame the other day. I know we normally finish the show on this, but it was a real shame the other day. I just, it's quite disappointing to see the lack of conversion of goals
Yeah.
at St James's Park. It's just incredibly sloppy, poor, and it's just sad, because all of these goals and opportunities are being lined up, and people are just fluffing them regularly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole hardship of our season. I think we just haven't replaced. We always felt this. We haven't replaced Isak because there isn't a like-for-like replacement. The closest like-for-like replacement to Isak was Hugo Ekitike, and he went to Liverpool also. So Walter and Wissa, good players, but they're taking their time and they're not quite Isak's profile. So we keep on hoping that.
Score a goal, as in they keep lining these goals up. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, there must have been like 3 or 4 shots on Wednesday that just should have gone in.
yeah.
That didn't.
Lamar, that's it. That's football, isn't it? If we put one of those away, I mean, the crowd was up for it. We played well on was it Tuesday against City? We played really well. I think we played better than the previous 2 games where we won. But if we scored that first goal, it would have been a different dynamic. And we did concede one right at the end. And 2-0 scoreline looks pretty bad, but really it could have been so different. But it is what it is, and I think there's no way we're
I
going
think
to.
we just need to go there and beat them, don't we?
There's no way we're going to Etihad and going to beat Man City 3-0. It's not happening. So we're out. We're out. We're out. We're out of the Carabao Cup.
Don't ever
But
say never. Say never.
yeah,
Never
yeah.
say.
But I just can't see that happening. And at the end of the day, I mean, at some point, if we had a choice to win a cup, I mean, the dream would be Champions League. Secondly, FA Cup would be the one, and thirdly, it would be Carabao. So if we're out of the Carabao, but if we can somehow do something in those other 2 tournaments, imagine that.
Yeah. Let's see. Anyway, many happy returns to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's that was my point, uh, and I probably didn't make it as blatantly and as bluntly. So I just thought it'd be nice to talk about the year that you were born. I'm not going to mention it because it's like you scroll down. Do you scroll? How far do you have to scroll down? That's when you know
Quite a
you're
lot,
old.
man. More and more these
Right?
days.
When they, it's like that's when you know you're really, really old.
Yeah,
Is when you go from, were you born in 2000s? Were you born in the 90s? Were
yeah,
you born in the 80s? And you're scrolling and you're scrolling and you're going, this is like mad. It's
yeah,
sad.
yeah. I mean, look, I think time flies, and it's one of those things that you blink and you get to a particular age, so you've got to really max out everything. And I think as we speak, when the year starts, I think again, look at it, we're 16 days into the new year and it feels as though it was yesterday. And Ammar, just think about what's happened in those 16 days. Remember on the first day of I think, was it before New Year's or start of our first show?
We actually done a show on the 2nd of January.
So Ammar,
we were like predicting, weren't we?
well, we were saying that, look, let's please, Trump, listen, man, let's have some world peace. And the next day he goes into the Venezuela. They're about to go into Iran. The things that we're talking about is, let's have some peace. And it's just the complete opposite. I mean, we did say that it wasn't going to be a year of peace, but we were just hoping that it would be, and the leaders would act responsibly. And it's just going the way that we predicted, but against our wishes. And obviously, those things are just so sad and frightening and just completely not in our control. Um, and it's just really sad where things possibly could go. That's why, enjoy every day, be focused every day, get the best out of your days, and battle because it's a race, and get the max out of that race that we're all in.
Yeah, as you say, battle, man, battle. It is. It's a sad state of affairs. Wars are good for the economy. Obviously, not for the ones that are getting bombed.
I
But
just,
ultimately, then
Ammar,
there's regeneration and everything else.
I just feel
It's
that's just that should those that mindset should be friggin' illegal, man. That yeah, wars are
Was
good
it
for the
true?
economy. I mean, it's just it just I can't believe that we openly like I hear that people saying that as well. How can you like even morally talk about benefiting from the death and murder of human beings and think, oh yeah, that's really good financially for certain groups? It's just wrong morally, completely.
Was it is? It is so wrong, and I agree. It's like absolutely shocking. So the world events and the world stage is just getting more dramatic. But let's go back to a particular year, and interestingly, the UK was led in that year by Harold Wilson of the Labour Party. Jaff,
Okay.
can you remember that?
No.
Oh, Um, the UK was facing high inflation above 20%.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Unemployment was rising. The government was intervening heavily in industry. Britain was redefining its place in Europe. One of the biggest moments of the decade happened this year. In 1975, said it out loud. Anyway, it is what it is. The UK voted to remain in the European Economic Community, so they were part of that. This was the first ever nationwide referendum in the UK and framed Britain's long-running relationship with Europe for decades. Isn't that interesting?
Mm.
That they looked at that the European Union was considered then. Across the regions like the Northeast, Midlands, and industrial heartlands, heavy industry still dominated. Coal, steel, shipbuilding, and manufacturing were major employers. Isn't that funny to think that?
How it's changed so much.
Yeah.
That's especially steel. I mean,
Because
why?
if you think that everybody knew where they were going to work,
Yeah.
that to me is like such a significant shift, isn't it? Imagine like knowing explicitly, um, like, okay, I'm learning, I'm going to school, or I'm not, and actually I can leave school at 15, 16, or whatever it is, and I'm off to build a ship, or I'm off to work in a coal mine, or I'm going to do some steel, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the manufacturing industry, I mean, steel is still such an important industry worldwide, right? And we had massive, strong steel industries, which
Yeah,
have just been decimated.
yeah.
And isn't it crazy how we allowed that to be decimated? It should be the core of our country today. We should be still manufacturing. I think if we
I
were
agree.
manufacturing, if we had coal mining still and we were extracting our own energies from our own country, as
Mm.
opposed to importing it, maybe the government would have more revenue and wouldn't tax us as much because they've got some,
Yeah,
you know, homemade resources where there's massive income coming in from those.
well, that is. And actually, I was at an event yesterday just talking about energy and investment and there's 25,000 jobs in the green energy sector, and fossil fuels will run out. And actually, regardless of whatever your views are, that's a matter of fact, isn't it? If you think about it, really.
But I don't know, because I used to believe
Imagine coal wouldn't it, if you kept on digging and digging and digging?
possibly, yeah. But I mean, they say that gas is
I
just
don't,
it's like a constant thing that it forms because of whatever happening below the ground on Earth. I don't know. So I mean, there's always theories, Ammar, that some things that we've been taught to believe. I'm not sure actually if it is all 100% true.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know
But
either.
it's like those wind farm things, right? I just think that to me, it's illogical that you have these wind farms in the beautiful countryside, and do you need to actually go in and use all that concrete to give it the stability and all that steel to build it, and the cost benefit analysis of something like that? I just can't see.
Well, people also, I mean, the mayor yesterday was presenting the case and highlighting that, wind farms can and will and such like. I don't know the data and the detail. The point is I think we all have a responsibility to validate information, don't we? Is what we do. And look, you can either sort of go, this isn't happening, it's not real, it's all climate fiction and whatever else, or given the fact that it's sort of it is happening, and ideally these are the when I say ideally, so these are the jobs, right? So the jobs they're anticipating are there's 25,000 jobs in the sector in the northeast, and they're anticipating another 25,000 within the next 10 years, within this sector. So that's like 50,000 jobs. So as a population, it offers those job opportunities. Blyth, so Blyth has always been on offshore renewable type of capital. The CEO of Crown Estates, who was there yesterday, was talking about, because the Crown Estates own all the sea and they own lots of place and they're investing here and things like that. So, and he was saying that the Blyth in the northeast was the birthplace of offshore renewables. So you can blame us. That's what you can. But I think look, whatever your views, there's opportunities. You're going back to how coal, steel, shipbuilding, manufacturing, all of these industries, we need something, don't we? We need something that a younger person can say, all right, I do this. And someone and the mayor yesterday mentioned that the in Brazil, so in Brazil, when you go into schools and the children, they're like super excited about getting a job in the renewable industry and the green industry because, and this is Brazil, because they understand it. Now, if you went into a school today up here and talked about renewables, they'd look at you like blankly, wouldn't they? They'd go, "Oh, yeah, we're doing a green exercise. We'll recycle some cardboard, type of thing." So I think we need to consider that. But actually, what I'm super excited about isn't necessarily the renewable side of things, but the innovation side. Because I feel we, as a region, have always been innovative, right? I mentioned Jalf going to the National History Museum and the National Science Museum in London, and it was brilliant, because it showcased so many inventions, innovations, and historical relevance of the Northeast.
Mm.
Like steam engines, light bulbs, Like, you name it, we created. Imagine that.
Amazing. It's like
So,
so.
so why aren't we doing that again? You know, why aren't we sort of empowering people? I was sat next to, so I went to this dinner on Wednesday at Durham University, this celebration event, and I was sat next to this lady called Fiona Hall. If you get the chance, look her up, right? Fiona Hall is the Chancellor of Durham University. And I've met a few chancellors, and in the main, they tend to be, in the main, they tend to be individuals who are like celebrity status, you know, and the university utilizes their platform and helps them to inspire the the students and various other things, and or uses their platform in a way that brings value. And yeah, I was embarrassingly, I'd heard of Fiona Hall, um, but she is like such a significant individual. But sat next to her, and we were sharing stories, and the stories we were sharing were just like brilliant, right? So we were talking about how her grandparents, her father, um, they all um, they all um, um, were coal miners, right? Um, and Fiona Hill, um, you know, was she wanted to be different. You know, it was like in whatever era it was, and Fiona is the daughter. I'll read it out because it's like a biography is brilliant, and then I'll go on to talk a bit about the conversation I had and why I'm sharing this is really really important as well. So Fiona is the daughter of a coal miner who attended Bishop Barrington Comprehensive School in Bishop Auckland, County Durham. From an early age, she was a high achiever academically with a thirst for learning, telling BBC Radio 4's Desert Island Discs how she would sit on the stairs at home reading encyclopedias. I'm reading out, this is from Durham University. We applaud Fiona's pride in her County Durham roots and her respected career as a foreign policy advisor to world leaders. We are a centre of learning. Let's find out a bit more about Fiona. So Dr. Fiona Hill was born in Bishop Auckland, County Durham, the daughter of a coal miner and a midwife. She attended Bishop Barrington Comprehensive School, Bishop Auckland, showed thirst for learning. After school, Fiona pursued degree studies at St Andrews University, Scotland, graduating with a master's in Russian and modern history. She also holds a doctorate in history from Harvard University, where she was a Frank Knox Fellow. Dr. Hill has built a career as an acclaimed foreign affairs specialist and author, as well as a presidential advisor to 3 US presidents: George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. She served on the US National Intelligence Council from 2006 to 2009 and was a member of the US National Security Council from 2017 to 2019. In July 2024, Dr. Hill was appointed by UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to co-lead the comprehensive review into the UK armed forces.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So, despite that look on your face, right?
Do you know why I'm intrigued? Because I didn't expect that to be her background when you were talking about obviously someone representing Durham University,
and or the fact that she was a coal miner's daughter, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the story is this: she was always fascinated with Russia. Mm-hmm. Right, had a deep fascination in Russia, and basically had, as it says, she was a high achiever, right? But surrounded by individuals and influences and influencers who arguably would never think like that, right? If I'm a coal miner, Russia's the furthest away from whatever. However, there were and the bits that we're unaware of, right, that aren't necessarily recognized or appreciated, or there were deep relationships between coal mining and coal miners here and with Russia.
Right. What was that? What was that relationship?
Well, to do with mining. You know, we were the world leading miners. There's variety of spaces. There was delegations coming over and whatever else. Anyway, I mean, I don't know any of this, but I'm interested and intrigued by it. But so you know, she's incredibly intelligent, wants to do something different, and wanted to learn Russian. But her parents didn't have money. They didn't come from money. And so she and her father went to Red Hills, the Durham Miners Institute. And actually, prior to that, she identified a Russian. She wanted to learn Russian and a bit more about Russia. And in East Anglia University, there was a summer school where they taught Russian.
Right.
And she wanted to go. Right? So she went to Durham Miners Institute with her father, and her father knocked on the door, and whoever it was came out, the secretary, and the father said, I mean, I'm relaying this, so obviously I didn't witness this. I'm just sharing that story. But then the father said, yeah, hello, this is my name. My daughter wants to go and study, and they were aware that there was a social fund to help. Like miners' children to better themselves, so whether they go, so there was a scholarship type of thing, and basically the secretary went away, spoke to someone, and then checked on, because everyone's records. Here's the thing that people don't appreciate: as a miner, your record of performance and everything else was recorded at the mining institute, right? Despite there being thousands of miners and hundreds of mines, there was 300 mines in the northeast. So you'd go there and you check his record, and he's like, all right, yeah, he's a good miner, and he's got mining heritage as well. His grandfather was in charge of a mine and whatever else. Anyway, so they then he came back out, and he was like, how much do you need? And he went away and he came back out, and he's like, £100, and he came back with £100 in an envelope. In an envelope, and said, there you go, right? And that £100, right? And her dad, like she said, her dad was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this money? Didn't expect to be paid like £100. Oh, just send us the receipts for the program, and it was for accommodation, and it was this, and it was that, and it was all of these things. Anyway, so she went off to study Russian in East Anglia on the back of this scholarship. And then she got a scholarship at St. Andrews, and then she got a scholarship into Harvard. So these were all scholarships, right? And she pushed herself. And she's one of the most preeminent experts on Russia globally.
Okay.
Right? Okay. And she works for an institute called the Brookings Institute, is what she is. As a senior fellow, a non-profit public policy organization. It conducts in-depth research that leads to new ideas for solving problems facing society at the local, national, and global level. Now, the bit that we didn't get into the big depth and whatever else is, I don't think necessarily, and I don't know this, and I appreciate this is being recorded, and I need to be very, very careful, but I didn't hear anything untowards about, just because she studied Russia doesn't mean to say she has anything against Russia, right? But when it comes to foreign policy, obviously she's advising whoever it is on here's how Russia is operating and what. So they carry out events. Anyway, it's an interesting conversation. But because I'm talking about someone live, it's different.
No, of course. But I think it would be nice to actually, if there was ever an opportunity to sit around
we,
dinner with Fiona, I would love to
we need.
sit and have that discussion. Just that if somebody has got a deep-seated understanding, and obviously I don't, and I'm sure you don't, because we know
I don't
we've
at
talked about
all.
Russia, we've talked about Russia in the past, just very loosely in terms of let's not poke that big bear, because that when that bear wants to come and bite, they will bite, chew off most of whatever we have, because it's such a vast, powerful country. So let's not keep on poking, which is what we keep on doing. And but I would love to have that conversation on understanding, Ammar, just because obviously throughout the years we've been fortunate enough through your contacts to go to Parliament on a number of occasions. And I remember just sitting there listening to the anti-Russia rhetoric just by MPs, and I just couldn't fathom and understand why they have such the Russian rhetoric and why they are so much against it. So it'd be nice just to understand that. And if it's because what I was listening to Tucker Carlson just a couple of days ago, and he was explaining about Russia and what the country is and the vast nature of it. If you put China and India together, Russia is bigger than the both of them. That's how the land is. The resource, yeah. The resource.
The point is and was that we anyway, she's a wonderful person, right? And I think we'll get her on the radio show. Well, because I'm conscious of this presentation that we need to do and go through the script that James created.
Brilliant. Let's organize dinner or lunch with Fiona. So I'll let you.
I think it'd be brilliant. Yeah, so Fiona lives in America. She lives in Washington. But she regularly comes over. So we will. I'm definitely going to organize that. Cool. But very, very briefly, one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard was shared by Fiona. And you can look at it and you can follow this up, right? As I say, check out Fiona Hill, right? Brilliant person. But one of the most beautiful stories, right? She has a daughter, and one of her friends, whilst she was studying, right, or wherever it was, and I didn't get into that particular detail, one of her best friends was the daughter of immigrants who had eloped together from Pakistan. And their eldest daughter was her friend called Malika, right? Malika Ali Khan, like a very prominent Arabic name. I wasn't that familiar with it, but Malika, right? And sadly, her friend died, like when she was 20, whatever, 22, and they were really, really close. And her daughter, so Dr. Fiona Hill, is blonde, and her daughter, and single daughter, is blonde, and she named her daughter Malika in memory of her friend and in recognition of the family, and they'd come to the UK and set up and done whatever else. And consequently, there's this blonde, policy advisor's child with an Arabic Muslim name, and everybody asks the question about, oh, Malika, why is your name Malika? And your mum's like one of the most preeminent, and they tell this fascinating story. Anyway, it was for me, it was a beautiful conversation, and it was really, really inspiring. So that was that. And yes, we will be inviting Dr. Fiona Hill up here and have a bit of a conversation. She's definitely and desperately interested in our PI project and the opportunity to connect with school children through the charity that we're really ramping up this year. Jalf, very briefly on you. So councils were powerful back in that year that you can remember so vividly, councils were powerful economic actors, trade unions were central to working life, international leadership. Gerald Ford was the president. America was recovering from Watergate. Vietnam War had just ended. Isn't that mad? Trust in institutions was fragile. Soviet Union, Leonid Brezhnev. The Cold War tensions remained high. Global politics were defined by East versus West. And Rocky Balboa was there. Anyway, he wasn't. But, economic reality of that year, UK inflation peaked at around 25%. Interest rates were high. Energy prices had surged after the oil crisis. Business confidence was weak. Productivity was a national concern. Almost feels as if we're back to the future, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, it does. It just swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
So Queen released Bohemian Rhapsody. Pink Floyd were at their peak. Punk was just round the corner. Jaws was released and changed cinema forever. Isn't it funny?
Wow.
I feel really old now. If that's when I thought Jaws was a lot later than that.
So was that? Listen to
that. A pint of milk was about 10 pence.
Yeah.
A house averaged under £10,000. Most shops closed early. Community life mattered deeply. People in that year grew up through deindustrialization, Thatcher era reform, globalization, digital transformation, financial crisis, pandemic recovery, is what it was. So that's that. Let's quickly share this presentation and get through this then. Let's share the presentation. Let's go share that. Stormer. So here's some interesting headlines, Jalf, right? First one, I'll read them all out and then we can quickly talk about them. Stormer drops compulsory digital ID plan. Remember, they were introducing these digital IDs.
Like ridiculous that they were even contemplating thinking about that.
So there's this is the 13th major, not minor, 13th major U-turn. Jalf, were you on telly earlier this week then?
Think so, yeah. Look north for like a couple of minutes.
Was that on BBC then?
Yeah, I think so. It was BBC. I mean, yeah, I'll let you go through the presentation, but yeah, it was just about business rates.
No, because it's important. So, yeah. So what was the context and the context?
Well, the context of the conversation was the economy and hospitality and how difficult it is, and obviously we've had so many challenges, beginning with the changes of the tax threshold, minimum wages going up, and then the energy costs when your contract's finished, they're just so much more than what they would have been because they're just constantly going up. And then you've got obviously the food costs, and on top of that, you got these business rate changes that they're making, which is just decimating businesses and the cost of spiraling. And I think the impact on the ground is just catastrophic. And Restaurant Week does give us a bit of breathing space to get away from it all, because you do a level of business which is so much higher, and you're able to just move away from those difficulties just for a week or so, and then you get back into it next week.
Yeah, it is, and it's hard. Other news, China. So China posts record trade surplus despite Trump's tariffs. So China has reported the largest trade surplus in global history, recording a $1.19 trillion surplus in 2025, surpassing the 1 trillion mark for the first time. Despite US tariffs and ongoing trade tensions, Chinese exporters quickly redirected goods to Southeast Asia, Africa, Latin America, and maintained strong exports to Europe. Growth in green technology, AI products, and robotics helped drive exports, while weak domestic demand and a sluggish property market limited imports, widening the surplus further. A weaker yuan and strong manufacturing capacity also boosted competitiveness. While the data highlights the resilience of China's export sector, ongoing global concerns about low-priced Chinese goods and the risk of further trade barriers remain, especially as trade policy continues to be shaped by geopolitical tensions. But 1.19 trillion it's made. And the US, and in particular, the president of the US felt that his tariffs would make a big difference to China.
Unbelievable. China is where it's all at. I think.
Yes, and they've been strategically, right? They have been strategically looking at. They've invested in Africa. They've invested globally. They own like so much of London, within the UK and Europe. But in Africa, they've got a huge presence. In the Middle East, they've got China were the first free port operator in Saudi Arabia. And they're operating and investing everywhere, strategically. And they've got loads of money to do that. So it gives them soft power as well. Business costs. So I just feel as if this reinforces your point, doesn't it, Jalf? Is the business costs near tipping point as manufacturers warn investment is at risk. Rising costs are putting UK manufacturers under severe pressure, with many warning that planned investment could be cancelled or shifted overseas if conditions don't improve. A Make UK survey found that nearly 9 in 10 industry leaders expect higher employment costs this year, and 2/3 foresee increased energy bills. 65% of executives cited rising costs at the top risk for 2026, and confidence in the UK as an attractive plan to invest remains fragile. Make UK now expects the sector to shrink by 0.5% this year, while some manufacturers remain cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I think it's just all about the cost. I think that it's very easy to solve all of this. If the government reduced the VAT, that would just give the economy such a boost. Take it back to like 15%, 10%, 5%, what it used to be. And then you could see it would just transform the country overnight.
Yeah. Undoubtedly.
It's the easiest thing for the government to do. They can make an announcement, VAT is 5%, and watch the country turn.
Yeah. I mean, that's the type of policy that we desperately and definitely need, isn't it?
I'm sure they'll have their accountants that can do the calcs and have a look at the growth and the money that would generate. I'm pretty sure it'll outweigh.
Yeah, but it's the short-termism, isn't it? It's the naivety of not doing that, and we really need some positive changes to stimulate the economy, improve investment. If you think about it, people shipping in goods here and having to pay like 20%. It's like, oh, all right, and anyway, it is incredibly hard. What else is going on? So, one of the things to counter some of these challenges is the SME Business Club that was launched. So, Jalf, the SME Centre of Excellence is 10 next week. It's
is that how many years it's been?
Yeah. So it's 10th anniversary on next week. 17,000 SMEs it's supported through starting, surviving, and thriving. Delivered programs, accelerator, scale up, peer network. During COVID, we launched the UK's first Save Our SME campaign. We were helping SMEs during COVID through our Save Our SME campaign. There's a whole range of things that we've done. But yeah, it's 10 years, and we opened it up at the Beacon. In 2016 is what we did. And then worked with the college, Newcastle College, for a bit, worked with a couple of other partners, and then opened up the centre here. And this has been 7-8 years now. You just think to yourself, it's crazy, isn't it? So one of the things that the SME's done and doing is the SME Business Club, recognizing that businesses want something where they get real value and they can come together and they can learn and understand. So there's a buyers club, there's an annual business MOT, so diagnostic review, there's monthly in-person peer-led business club sessions, there's quarterly specialist workshops, growth, finance, sales, leadership, innovation, resilience. There's a monthly digital masterclass with me. There's curated access to a network of industry experts. There's the Institute of Enterprise and Entrepreneurship training and membership. And there's a whole range of other benefits. But the single most attractive one is obviously the Buyers Club, I think, and the networking. Jalf, how much value did you get when you connected with other industry leaders? When you done that stuff with Hook, Sam Hook, was it Sam Hook?
Yeah, Andy Hook and
Andy Hook and Sam Hook. Stuff like that, like those type of experts. It's like invaluable, isn't it?
And of course it is, and Ammar, that's unfortunately you just feel that obviously ABC and SME is kind of providing something that used to be provided by Business Link and Co. So from the government-led organizations, I don't think anything exists anymore. So it's like the blessing.
Well, no, there is. We're talking to, but not in the same fashion form that it previously existed. But there is, and equally we deliver support, but it's targeted, and it's like we in Northumberland, we deliver all of the enterprise support. But you're right, it's not the same as Business Link and the level and depth of funding that really allowed businesses to de-risk.
Yeah, but at least you've taken it on privately, and at least there's some organization there that is providing for what I benefited from all those years ago, where all it was, you're young, you're open-minded, but you need just the experts to give you a bit of guidance, open your eyes a bit, and put you in the right direction. Because if at that stage you were misguided, that could lead to make or break, and that's the pathway that's that you follow. So I was fortunate that I had really good people that supported and set the particular pathway up, and then being part of that network, Ammar, it's where you then meet like-minded businesses, and they then give you a particular mindset. I remember many years ago when I was at university, and we were had an event management business. We were working with graphic designers, making like really quirky designs and flyers and to promote events. And the guy, he was called Gush. He was based in London. And when I left uni, he was opening the first business, and he was saying that we were creating a take. We said, "Oh, you are using interior designers," and I wasn't. And I was like, "Yeah, of course I am," because he just put something in my head that should be the way that you do things. And immediately, I kind of got interior designers on board, and then had the builders following the interior designers from the designers, which is so basic. But then at that time, it wasn't for me, and it was someone that gave me the guidance and that give you a particular mindset. So I think networking and getting business advice from those that are already in the industry, that people that are good, honest, and trustworthy, and have got your best interest at heart, it's so important. So look, hats off to you that you're still providing that, and it's amazing that you're in the 10th year, because I would, if you had asked me how many years, I would have said about 4 or 5.
Yeah, and we purposefully set it up, to make sure that the value of what we delivered, um, and it's for me all about making sure that you can help businesses start, survive, and thrive. And yes, we develop and deliver funded activity, but all of our delivery organizations and individuals are experts. They're all business owners. So it's business support by businesses is what it is, as opposed to individuals that may have never set up a business or don't have an understanding of a business, or that type of thing. So it is in it, and over those 10 years, what we've taken, these were all of the best bits that businesses want. These are the bits that people don't want. They don't want to have to fill out like reams of paperwork and tick this box and do this, and it's not a one size fits all. So there's business support, there's networking, there's one-to-one support. If you want to chat, it's a lonely place for some businesses, Jeff. And you're like, who do I talk to? Where can I go and get some confidential advice that's not going to charge us hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever it is? It's like it's a case of, where do I just get some credible support? Where can I just pick up the phone and have a chat? And the buyers club is so compelling, right? It's like, okay, I'm a takeaway, I'm a restaurant owner, I've got 5, 6 restaurants, I've got one restaurant, and I'm buying these goods and supplies. But what happens if there was 300 that I'm buying with? That buying power reduces, the costs, and the supply chain improves. So if I can get things better, cheaper, faster, well, why wouldn't I do that as a collective? And you're supporting one another as well. So there's some really exciting opportunities to address some of the challenges. And obviously, Jeff, you've experienced, one of our partners, Phil Andrew, who looks after insurance and energy and a whole host of other overheads. He's a really good, trustworthy person, and that's who you want, right?
Absolutely. I think the energy experience over the years, it's been cold calling, and that's the one that you hate the most. You put the phone down because you just know that you get sick of it after a while, and you lose.
Yeah, you do. So
then you meet Phil, and then everything reverses, and he comes and he explains everything very, very honestly. The charges and stuff, it's there, it's all in front of you, and even everyone should take something for their time, some level of fee or commission, whatever. Maybe that's just business, but even that's openly discussed, and it's like such a nominal fee. It just gives you all the confidence that everything's been done for the best interest of us. And that's why I can 100% recommend Phil for everything that he does. But whether it be, my experience with Phil has been in energy, and if he's doing insurance, and I'm sure he'll take the same ethos through to that particular industry also.
Yeah, no, and he has. And it's like, and it's on the basis that it's cheaper and it's better, rather than you're going to get whatever. Anyway, we're coming up to the end of the show. There's a curry club on the 5th of February. Make sure you register and check out the various opportunities. It's at Newcastle Building Society, one of our core partners, and it's part of Race Equality Week on the 5th of February. We'll be back next week. Until then, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Okay, we're still here. Is it? We've got 10, 9. I need to check the time, don't I? I should be looking a bit more at the second. Oh, we've got 15 seconds left. Brilliant. Jeff, what do you think about the result this weekend? We're away to Wolves.
We're away. Well, look, it's a must-win game. We've got to win. I think we're in a good position in the league. Somehow we're 5th. That's just incredible. So look, it's Wolves. If we win, we will stay in the same position. So
on the hour, every hour.